A man created 3 children in a laboratory using a chemical he cannot fully explain. He deployed them as weapons before they could speak and complete sentences. He named them. He dressed them. He sent them into combat against a demonic entity that existed before they did, a rejected lab assistant who resents them for replacing him, and a town that turns on them the moment they're inconvenient. And almost none of you have ever asked what that does to a child. Today, we're doing a complete psychological evaluation of the Powerpuff Girls, the Professor, Chemical X, him, Mojo Jojo, the Rowdyruff Boys, and the truly disturbing episodes of the show buried in plain sight. Not theories, clinical evidence. Let's move. The origin story is treated as a joke. Professor Utonium, a single man, no partner, no co-parent, no oversight, attempts to create the perfect little girl in a laboratory. He combines sugar, spice, and everything nice. Then accidentally, he adds Chemical X. Accidentally. 3 kindergarten-age children are created. They have no mother. They have no birth. They have no developmental history. They exist because a man mixed ingredients in a beaker and something went wrong. The show presents this as whimsical, but here's what the show does not address, and cannot address because it's a children's cartoon. The professor is not their father in any biological sense. He is their creator. He designed them. He controls their environment. He names them Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup, and assigns them identities before they can speak. He dresses them. He determines their mission. And their mission, from the moment of creation, is combat. They're not children who happen to have powers. They are weapons who happen to look like children. This is the clinical framing. Everything that follows, every villain, every trauma, every disturbing episode, is downstream of this unstable foundation. The girls do not have a childhood. They have a deployment schedule. Diagnosis 1. The Professor. Creator complex with dissociative parenting. The Professor presents as gentle, caring, paternal. But the evidence tells a different story. He sends 5-year-olds into combat against a demonic entity, named him, that he knows they cannot permanently defeat. He sends them against Mojo Jojo, his own former lab assistant mutated by the same accident that created them, without ever explaining that connection. He allows a town of adults to rely entirely on 3 children for protection from monsters, criminals, and apocalyptic threats. In the episode Knock It Off, Season 4, Episode 6, the professor's college roommate, Dick, hardly visits. Dick sees the girls and immediately identifies them as a product. Not children, a product. He steals Chemical X, mass produces inferior versions, and sells them. The knockoff girls are distorted, unstable, violent. They melt. They explode. They collapse into puddles. And here's the part that matters clinically. The professor does not see this coming. He introduces his daughters, his creations, to a man he already knows is unethical. He does not supervise. He does not intervene. He treats the girls as finished projects rather than vulnerable children who need protection from exploitation. Dick Hardley is the external manifestation of what the professor has already done internally. The professor turned children into a product. Dick just industrialized it. The show's text says the professor is a loving father. The subtext shows a man who created weapons, gave them names, and never once asked if they wanted the life he assigned them. Diagnosis 2. Him. The unprocessed trauma manifestation. Him is not a villain in the conventional sense. He does not want to destroy the world. He wants to control it. He operates through psychological manipulation, not brute force. He is patient. He is ancient. He is, by the show's own visual language, demonic. And he cannot be permanently defeated. Every time the girls face him, they win the battle and lose the war. He retreats to his lair, he waits, he returns. In Speed Demon, the darkest episode of the entire series, the girls accidentally travel 50 years into the future. Him is won, not through combat, through time. He simply waited. The girls disappeared, and without them, Townsville collapsed. Him didn't conquer a functioning city. He inherited a vacuum. The clinical reading here is specific. Him represents unprocessed trauma that compounds over time. He's not the traumatic event. He is what happens when the traumatic event is never resolved. This is why the girls cannot beat him permanently. You cannot punch your way out of unprocessed psychological damage. You can suppress it. You can fight it back for a season, but it waits. And when you return to it, 50 years later or 50 minutes later, it has grown. In Power-Noia, him traps each girl in her own worst nightmare. Buttercup faces spiders, a primal fear. Bubbles faces betrayal by her stuffed animals, abandonment terror. But Blossom's nightmare is the most revealing. She is in a classroom being exposed for not being smart enough, for failing, for not being perfect. Blossom, the leader, the designated competent one, is terrified that she is a fraud. That the identity the professor assigned her, commander and the leader, is a lie she's been maintaining under constant pressure. Him knows exactly where to strike. He doesn't attack their bodies. He attacks the gap between who they were told to be and who they are afraid they actually are. That's not a monster. That's a therapist with malicious intent. Diagnosis 3. Mojo Jojo, the rejected firstborn. The most important detail about Mojo Jojo is buried in the origin. He was the professor's first lab assistant, a chimpanzee named Jojo, before the accident. He was there first. He was the original subject, the first creation, the prototype. Then the professor created the girls, and Jojo was replaced. Chemical X mutated him, gave him an enlarged brain, gave him speech, gave him a permanent resentment toward the beings who took his place. Mojo Jojo's villainy is not random. It is sibling rivalry expressed through supervillainy. He does not want to destroy the world. He wants recognition. He wants the professor to acknowledge that he exists, that he matters, that he was there before the perfect little girls arrived. His ranting, the circular repetitive monologues, read as compulsive verbal processing. He cannot stop explaining himself because he has never been heard. The professor never sits him down, never apologizes, never acknowledges his role in Jojo's condition. The girls fight Mojo Jojo as an enemy. Clinically, he is their older brother, the one the father abandoned. Diagnosis 4. The Rowdyruff Boys, the Dark Mirror. Mojo Jojo creates the Rowdyruff Boys, Brick, Boomer, and Butch, using the same formula the professor used with one modification. He adds snail shells, a prison toilet, and an extra dose of masculinity. The boys are the girls' equals in power, aggressive where the girls are disciplined, violent where the girls are tactical. They have no professor figure, no moral guidance, no mission beyond destruction. And they defeat the girls, not once, repeatedly. The Powerpuff Girls, who have never lost, lose to their mirror images. The clinical read. The Rowdyruff Boys represent what the Powerpuff Girls would be without the professor's conditioning. Same power, same origin, opposite socialization. The girls are not naturally good, they are trained good. The boys prove that the formula produces chaos by default. Order has to be imposed. But here's what's darker. The girls defeat the boys by kissing them. Literally. The boys, unable to process affection, swell up and explode. The show resolves a power imbalance with a gendered weapon. The boys cannot fight what they have never received. The girls weaponize intimacy because they were never taught to offer it genuinely. Diagnosis 5. The Town. Collective Dependency Disorder. Townsville has a mayor whose primary contribution to public safety is calling a direct hotline to 3 kindergartners. Every crisis, every monster, every invasion, the entire adult population defers to children. This is collective abdication of responsibility. An entire city of grown adults has decided that 5-year-olds are the appropriate first responders to existential threats, and the town turns on them instantly. In tough love, him makes the citizens hostile towards the girls. Not brainwashed, just hostile. And the girls' only solution is to fight back, to beat the aggression out of people they're supposed to be protecting. The lesson the show never states. Townsville does not love the Powerpuff Girls. Townsville needs them. And the moment that need is disrupted, by him, by a slow news week, by anything, the gratitude evaporates. The girls have no genuine social support network. They have the professor who made them. They have Miss Keene who teaches them. And they have each other. That's it. Everyone else is a beneficiary. Deep Cuts, the episodes that confirm the diagnosis. Twisted Sister in Season 3, the girls create a 4th Powerpuff Girl, Bunny, using the same formula. Bunny is larger, slower, less coordinated. She fails to understand the difference between heroism and destruction. She releases criminals. She makes everything worse. Then, at the critical moment, she saves them, and immediately explodes. Bunny is chemically unstable because the formula is unstable. The girls were lucky. Their batch worked. Bunny's didn't. She's not a failure of character. She is a failure of manufacturing. And she dies for it. All that remains is a shred of purple fabric. Collector in Season 4, Lenny Baxter is a grown man who collects Powerpuff Girls merchandise. Action figures, lunchboxes, posters, and, once his collection is complete, decides to collect the real girls. He captures them, mounts them, displays them. The episode is about obsessive fandom as predation, a man who cannot distinguish between the product and the person. Abracadabra, Season 1. A magician dies on stage, falls into an Iron Maiden during a trick gone wrong, and returns as a zombie. A child causes his death. The episode treats this as Monster of the Week. The subtext: a child is directly responsible for an entertainer's violent death on live television. No counseling, no processing, just another Tuesday in Townsville. Let's assemble the case file. The Powerpuff Girls were created in a laboratory by a single man with no oversight. They were given superhuman abilities and deployed as weapons before reaching school age. They have no mother, no developmental peers, no role models who are not combatants or dependents. Their primary antagonist, him, is a manifestation of unprocessed trauma that cannot be fought, only managed. Their second antagonist, Mojo Jojo, is the rejected first subject, acting out for recognition that will never come. Their dark mirror, the Rowdyruff Boys, proves that their goodness is conditioning, not nature. The town that depends on them would abandon them the moment the dependency lapsed. The professor who created them has never asked if they consented to any of this, and in the world of the show, he never will. 3 children, created as an experiment, deployed as weapons, celebrated as heroes, never once treated as what they actually were. 3 little girls who never got to choose their own lives. Someone made this. It was animated. It was storyboarded. And it aired between episodes of Dexter's Laboratory and Ed, Edd n Eddy on weekday afternoons. That's the record. Drop it in the comments. Which diagnosis hit the hardest? The professor as a creator with a god complex, him as unprocessed trauma, or the Rowdyruff Boys proving that goodness is conditioning? Let me know, and hit subscribe.